Watch how to create this incredibly useful and stylish pincushion with pockets. Perfect for keeping your sewing space organised and your pins within reach. Let's jump into making the side pocket. Start by hooping up your cutaway stabilizer in the hoop. Once that's set, stitch the place and line for the batting. Next, place batting 1 on top of the hoop, making sure it covers the place and line you just stitched. Secure the batting by stitching it down. After stitching, remove the hoop from your machine and trim the batting about 1 to 2 mm from the stitching line. This slight trim helps keep things neat and avoids bulk later. Now, stitch the place and line for the top section. Lay fabric A right side up over the hoop, aligning it with the placement line. Stitch it down to secure it. After stitching, take the hoop out of the machine and trim the fabric to about 1 to 2 mm from the stitching line. Be sure to leave a bit of excess fabric in the seams. Moving on to the section behind the pocket, start by stitching the place and line for this part. Place fabric B on top of the hoop, wrong side up, making sure fabric B overlaps the placement line by 1/4 inch along the top, with the excess fabric extending towards the top right of the hoop. Stitch it down, then fold the fabric over. Keeping it taut and stitch again. Trim the bottom seam to 1.2 mm from the stitching line, leaving the excess in the seams. For the next section, repeat the process. First, stitch the place and line for the section behind the pocket. Lay fabric C on top of the hoop, wrong side up, with 1/4 inch overlap on the placement line. But this time, let the excess fabric point towards the top left of the hoop. Stitch it down, fold it over, hold taut, and stitch it down again. Trim the bottom seam to 1 to 2 mm from the stitching, leaving the excess in the seams. Then embroider the quilting design. For the decorative elements like the butterfly and thread spools, follow the numbering in your file to guide you through the embroidery steps. Now let's add the pocket. Start by stitching the place and line for the pocket. Take fabric D and fold it in half, wrong sides together. Along the longer side, press the fold to create a crisp edge. Place fabric D on top of the hoop, positioning the fold slightly above the place and line. Tape it in place and stitch it down. After stitching, trim the bottom seam to 1.2 mm from the stitching line, leaving the excess fabric in the seams. Finally, using the bottom edge of the pocket stitching as your guide, place fabric E on top of the hoop, wrong side up. Ensure fabric E overlaps the place and line by 1/4 inch, with the excess pointing towards the top of the hoop. Stitch it down, fold it over while keeping it taut, and stitch again. There's no need to trim any fabric at this stage. Now remove the hoop from the machine and flip it over so the wrong side of the hoop is facing up. Use your seam ripper to unpick the placement line from step 20 to open up your pockets. Once you've completed these steps, remove the hoop from your machine and trim the seams to about 1/2 inch. Set this piece aside until all your panels are complete. Making the base. Now let's move on to creating the base. Start by placing batting 1 on top of the hoop. Secure the batting by stitching it down. Once you've stitched it, carefully remove the hoop from your machine. Trim the batting to about 1 to 2 mm from the stitching line. Including the rectangle in the center. Don't forget to trim the cutaway stabilizer in the center as well. Next, stitch the place and line for the first half of the base. Lay fabric A right side up over the hoop, making sure it covers the place and line. Stitch it down to secure it in place. After stitching, remove the hoop from your machine and trim the fabric to about 1/2 inch from the stitching line. Be sure to leave the excess fabric in the seams. Now for the second piece of fabric A, use the stitching on the first piece as your guide. Place the second piece of fabric A on top of the hoop, but this time position it wrong side up. Ensure that it covers the place and line by 1/2 inch, with the excess fabric extending towards the left side of the hoop. Stitch it down. This will leave a gap in the center. Fold the fabric over, keeping it taut, and stitch down. There's no need to trim any fabric at this stage. Next, it's time to add some embroidery. Start with the quilting design, then embroider the bottom wings of the butterflies first. Follow this by embroidering the top wings of the butterflies, finally, stitch the bodies of the butterflies. Once you've completed the embroidery, remove the hoop from your machine and trim the seams to about 1/2 inch. Set this base aside until all your blocks and panels are finished. Let's finish up by joining all the panels. Start by laying out your pincushion on a flat surface, similar to what we have done here. Then arrange the panels so the long sides are aligned, just like we've done here. Take the middle two blocks and place them right sides together. Pin along one side, carefully matching up the seams. For the best alignment, we recommend pinning the corners. When stitching, aim to sew 1 to 2 mm inside the existing border stitching line so that the border stitching won't be visible on the front. This technique is known as stitching to the net method. Make sure to start and stop your seams precisely at the seam allowance corners. Avoid stitching into the seam allowance and backstitch securely at these corner points. If you'd like to add a loop to your pincushion, now's the time. Prepare a piece of ribbon and mark a point 3/4 of an inch, 19 mm from the apex of the join block. Pin the ribbon at this marked area and stitch it down securely. Continue this process until you've joined all 4 side blocks together. Next, fold the joined blocks in half with the right sides together. Use the stitching to the net technique again to complete the pyramid shape. This involves stitching from corner to corner while ensuring that you stay within the seam allowance. Press the seams open for a clean finish now. And clip and trim the apex to get a sharp point. To attach the base block, place it right sides together with one of the side blocks. Align the existing stitching on both blocks and pin them in place. Stitch 1 to 2 mm inside the border stitching lines to keep the border stitching hidden on the front. Continue this until the base block is attached to all the side blocks. Press the seams flat to remove any creases, and clip and trim the 4 corners for a neat finish. Now turn the pincushion right side out through the opening at the base. Use a chopstick or that pink thing to carefully push out the apex and corners, giving them a sharp and defined shape. Press the seams again to ensure everything is smooth and well formed. Stuff the pincushion with a polyfill, adding enough to give it a nice full shape. Once you're happy with the stuffing, hand stitch the base opening closed. Make sure your stitches are secure to keep the filling from escaping. And there you have it, folks. Your desk pincushion with pockets is all finished. We hope you enjoy your new pincushion as much as we enjoyed creating it with you. Thank you for sewing along with us always. And if you'd like to get your hands on this month's K.I.S.S project design, head over to sweepy.com. Don't forget to check out the description of this YouTube video for a link to our Facebook group where you can share your creations in the monthly competition and connect with fellow sewing enthusiasts. If you like this video tutorial, please remember to like and subscribe. Happy sewing!